As of today, on August 6th, we have 9 teams that have publicly confirmed. There's about 15 or so that we have as a commit that are still waiting. And the ranges of 15, 15 teams that should be participating in what we're calling the first Great Migration Wave, which will be launching here, or we'll have some more announcements on when that is in the next few weeks, because there's a lot of moving parts, which we'll probably kind of get into. Teams that have reached out range anywhere from a $50,000 market cap upwards to $250 million is the highest team that's reached out so far.
Okay, we're live. Welcome to another episode of BidCast. I'm your host, Jason Kam, aka at Maple Leaf Cap. Today is August 6th, 2025, 11:30 p.m. Hong Kong time. BidCast is being live streamed to BidClub members. Questions are from the members and my own. This is not financial advice. Today, I'm speaking with Jake, the founder of Agent Hustle, Emblem Vault, and Migrate.Fun. Jake, welcome.
Jason, appreciate you for having me. Fan of what, fan of what you guys have built, and also just appreciate the opportunity of coming in and be able to share our story.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a fun one. I've been following from afar. Why don't we start with this, which is, I think as of a couple weeks ago, I didn't know that Migrate.Fun had a token. And when I dig into it, I found out that you were also building an AI agent before this. So why don't you kind of walk me through the idea of how you started building an AI agent, and then you built the idea of Migrate.Fun, and how all this thing come to be?
Yeah, well, I hope you're ready for a kind of wild and crazy story of the company and history of Emblem Vault, because it really kind of all circles back to that. And so I'll try to accelerate it a little bit, but the story goes is that our founder of Emblem Vault, Shannon Code, he joined crypto in 2012. He was a security developer at Mastercoin. If people know, Mastercoin was the first ever ICO, was the first ever application on top of Bitcoin. And before this, he was actually building farming systems for MMORPGs like World of Warcraft and stuff for in-game currencies in the mid-2000s. So he ended up creating Emblem Vault in 2016, which was this idea of tokenizing a wallet. And it started out on Bitcoin. And over the few years, he and the Emblem team had undergone a few migrations. Initially, Emblem Vault has started off as a layer 1 blockchain called Loyal. And it was a travel rewards company that he had worked at after Mastercoin. And so he took over that blockchain and migrated the token Loyal over to Koval C on Counterparty on Bitcoin. And then in 2019, he migrated Koval C from Counterparty to Ethereum in 2019 to where it currently sits today. There is another migration that's ongoing back to Bitcoin, but maybe that's a story for a different day. And I joined the company in 2022 as the first. My buddy Adam and I were the first employees that were not co-founders on the team in 2022. And at this time, we actually did another migration of Emblem Vault, which is the largest NFT bridge in the industry. If you've ever traded rare Pepes on OpenSea, it uses Emblem Vault, which is taking Bitcoin NFTs and trading on Ethereum and across all these other chains. And that was the first migration I did with the Emblem Vault team, which was migrating 50,000 NFTs off of one smart contract to 50,000 NFTs on 62 smart contracts. So we've had our kind of fair share of that. And progressing a little bit forward into the conversation, in 2024, so last summer, Shannon, our founder, he had been building an AI for a while, and he was like, hey, I'm building an AI wallet for us using Emblem Vault's tech stack. And we were like, okay. And he's like, AI is going to have a big crossover with crypto at some point in time, so I wanted to prepare us for this. And of course, as crypto does, about 3 months later is when the AI meme coin boom happened on Solana. And so he had been building his own AI agent in the background that had no name. It was just like a personal kind of project. And one day he comes into the chat and he's like, hey, I deployed a token called Tensorium anonymously, and maybe we could use this and try to intertwine it with this AI wallet that I've been building. And of course, as the trenches do, they figured out that Shannon had deployed it and it was related to Emblem Vault, and the token just went and pumped into oblivion from $5,000 to like $8 million within like a few days. And so we knew then, we're like, hey, there's demand here. There's now going to be an AI sector of some sort. So let's continue to use this token and try to intersect it with our AI wallet at some point in time. Ultimately, what we came to find out after launching on Pump.Fun was about 4 or 5 months later, there was 3 main issues that we were running into with this token that was called Tensorium at the time. One was that we had no access to LP rewards because you're launching on Pump.Fun, so the rewards themselves are just being funneled back into the LP that's locked. We had no token treasury because we launched it as an experiment, so we had like a few percentage points. I think it was like 3 or 4%. And then we had no ability to rebrand the metadata because we were stuck as Tensorium. And so as everything progressed, we came to this decision where Tensorium had fallen under $1 million market cap. It was at 600K, and we had to make a decision. We were like, we need to migrate this token so that we can get LP rewards, so that we can get some of the token treasury, and so that we can rebrand, or else this whole experiment is over. And during that meantime, we had deployed Agent Hustle with DeFi capabilities and had grown to become one of the most widely used agentic platforms where users can trade crypto with an AI and analyze markets and such. And so we ended up coming up with the mechanism for Migrate.Fun, where the main issue was we had $250,000 in liquidity in this locked LP pool on Solana or in Pump.Fun, but we needed to unlock that somehow and move it over to a new LP. So we came up with this mechanism of being able to collect all the tokens and market sell it, and then take that SOL from the market sell and use it into the next LP pool. And ultimately, as we were building this, we found out and realized that there was dozens of other teams in the same situation. I'm not kidding. At this point now, it's like over 100 different teams that we've talked with in a similar situation. So we said, hey, let's turn it into a platform of Migrate.Fun and see how many teams would be interested in this kind of idea. And turns out it's even much larger than we ever expected. And so kind of wrapping this whole story up, we also, as we always innovate with new ideas, we had Agent Hustle, which was now, we had rebranded or migrated from Tensorium to Hustle, the Hustle token for Agent Hustle itself. But we had this kind of cool narrative where Agent Hustle was also the first migration through Migrate.Fun platform. And we had thought about this and we said, well, I don't want to introduce a new token to the ecosystem. There's already too many. And we looked around and said, well, there's no teams that have ever really experimented with one token for 2 applications. And we had thought through our history and had never really seen that. And for most teams, right, they're really kind of lucky to have one successful application. And with Emblem Vault, we've kind of had 3 now. And so we decided, hey, let's take Hustle, let's make it the token of Migrate.Fun, and we'll try to build this dual application economy off of a single token and see if it has a value accrual mechanism, if this is something that the market is interested in, and if it's something that maybe other people can adopt in the future when they're building out multiple applications.
That's a good background. And the migration for Hustle happened when?
July 1st through July 15th. We did about 6 weeks of marketing prior, and then there was 2 weeks of the on-chain experience itself. So you had about 2 months of marketing, and ended July 15th. And then on July 16th, we actually released Agent Hustle V3 the day after, and it had pretty large value accrual from where the token went from 1 million on July 1st to almost 40 million a week ago.
Yeah. And that's good background. So I guess I'm a project. Let's say I CTO'd, whatever coin. I think I was in Act, in Fun and personally. I mean, that was a pretty good CTO because people hate the founder's guts. And now the community took over. You sort of mentioned a couple of benefits of migrating over. So for a CTO like Act, can you walk through in more details about the community kind of once they have believed in you and sort of try to onboard after the launch on BONK, like how the mechanism actually works, and then what are they kind of left with after the migration?
Absolutely. It's actually a good question. So as of today, on August 6th, we have 9 teams that have publicly confirmed. There's about 15 or so that we have as a commit that are still waiting. And the ranges of 15, 15 teams that should be participating in what we're calling the first great migration wave, which will be launching here, or we'll have some more announcements on when that is in the next few weeks, because there's a lot of moving parts, which we'll probably kind of get into. The teams that have reached out range anywhere from a $50,000 market cap upwards to $250 million is the highest team that's reached out so far. There's obviously a lot of complexities and stuff that go into a migration, but the variety of ranges is AI companies, CTOs, meme coin founders, utility projects. It's really kind of all over. And the one thing we've learned now with a conversation with about 100 different teams is that every situation is different. Some teams did a pre-sale beforehand. Some teams did a CTO. Some teams were given bad advice on how to launch their projects. The market cap to liquidity depth is too high, so therefore there's no price movement because it's too thick and the LP's locked. So it really, really ranges. But if you want to use Migrate.Fun, it's pretty much a 4-step process. If, let's say, I'm ACT and I want to migrate our token, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Migrate.Fun when the website is public, which will be public and planned is in September after the first migration wave. You'll go to the platform and you'll input your old LP ID. And what will happen then is it'll give you the statistics for your liquidity pool. So I'm just going to use simple numbers here. I don't know ACT's numbers, but let's say your liquidity pool is $1 million. It'll come back and it'll say you have 1 million liquidity pool. There's, 500,000 in Sol. There's 500,000 in ACT. And you'll say, okay. And then it'll say create a new token or create a new CA or token for your project. So then the user will come in and they will put in the ticker, the name, the description, the image, and then they'll choose a migration time period. So this is how long is the migration going to be open for? And the general times is usually 7 days, 14 days, 30 days. You can go longer. It kind of varies depending on the chains. I've seen migrations last a year. I've seen migrations last 7 days. 2 weeks seems to be like the good period where you can keep energy and excitement around the migration without losing interest. So when we migrated Agent Hustle, we had 51% of tokens migrated in the first 24 hours, 60% of tokens migrated in the first 3 days, and 78% after 2 weeks. And so the majority of the tokens that were being migrated happened within the first 3 days in the last 24 hours. And the interesting part here is that the last day of migration, the Tensorium price went from 1 million to 2.5 million. And it's because people were buying the token to migrate and there was no sell pressure because all the tokens were committed to this vault. So that was kind of like a unique prospect that we had noticed. And so once a creator comes in and sets up the migration portal, they're pretty much done for a while. At that point, then the migration is created on Migrate.Fun. The users will come in, and it's a 10-second process. They'll find their migration portal for their token. So it'd be Act to Act 2, or Act 1 to Act 2 in this example. And it'll say, would you like to migrate? You hit yes. And it's set up just like a swap kind of UI, where you'll just hit max and you hit migrate and you're done until the migration is over. Once the migration is over, then all of those tokens that were committed to the migration. So in this example, let's say 75% of tokens were committed to the migration. We then take all 75% of the token supply. So if it's a pump fund token, it'd be 750 million tokens because the supply is 1 billion. And we market sell it all in one candle. And what that does then is able to recover the majority of the SOL out of the locked liquidity pool. And then we take that SOL and pair it with the new token that you created. And you have a new LP that's then deployed on either BONK Fund or Radium, CPMM. We have 2 options for that. And there's differences and there's different requests and reasons why people will go to one or another. And then once the LP is deployed, the creator comes back into our portal, or once the SOL is recovered, the creator then comes back into the Migrate.Fun admin dashboard, and it says, would you like to deploy the LP? The user will say yes. The LP is then deployed. And then the next thing we'll say is, would you like to release the tokens for claiming? and then the creator will say yes. And then everyone who committed their migration tokens can then come back to the platform, claim their new tokens, and begin trading. And the reason why we release the tokens after the LP is to prevent people from creating rogue liquidity pools. Because there's a situation where if the migration's 2 weeks, but you give people their tokens before, somebody could create a rogue LP and just completely destroy what the price is. So the tokens have to be released after the LP is deployed. And then this is, and I'm going to kind of focus on this. There's a controversial aspect to migrations, and we have received some backlash, but rightfully so, surrounding this idea of what to do with the unclaimed tokens. So in this example, if 75% of the token supply has come to commit, you'll generally have 5 or 10% that's in the liquidity pool. So you'll have like an outstanding supply of about 15% of the supply that was not migrated. Now, we offer a handful of tools for creators to decide on what to do with these tokens. So there's kind of 4 main things that people have options for. You can take the unclaimed supply and move it to your team treasury. You can, and have like a hard cutoff. And this is traditionally how migrations have been, where if you just miss the migration, then you miss the tokens, right? And this has generally been like when you're doing migrations on like Bitcoin and ETH and stuff, this is before automated tooling, and migrations was a very manual process. What we've come to learn is that on the Solana side of things, people have somewhat of an issue with this, which rightfully so, but every situation is different. So you can move the tokens to the treasury, you can move the tokens to a DAO, you can burn the tokens, or we've created something that's called a snapshot and claim tool, where right after the migration's done, you take a snapshot of the non-migrated tokens, and you can allow these users to claim the new CA tokens at a 1% to 100% ratio. So if you want to give them the exact amount that the migrators did, then that's fine. If you want them to take a 50% haircut because they were late, then that's okay as well. It's up to the creators to then decide on what to do there. And once that's initiated and the claims are live for the late migrators, then everyone could come in, claim their tokens, and then everyone gets to move on and so forth. The main difference here, maybe I'll just describe this. You can choose to migrate to BONK.Fun, or you could choose to migrate to Radium CPMM. Both of these situations are different. With Agent Hustle, for us, we migrated to a Radium CPMM, which gives you kind of full control over the liquidity pool. That's what we wanted. Actually, when we had built the platform, we thought this is what the majority of people had wanted. It's actually turned out to be quite the opposite. And maybe this is just like a little bit more of, I guess, an observation on where the industry is. But if you migrate to a Radium CPMM, you have full control over the liquidity pool, right? This means that the liquidity pool is unlocked. You do get dinged in certain areas on like rug check, and you get like labels and stuff on CoinGecko basically saying like you could potentially be a rug. With this, you also have a little bit more of administrative work. You got to reach out to all the directories to get listed, right? You have to pay for your CoinMarketCap listing. You have to pay for the deck screener, stuff like that. And so this is generally what we've noticed for some of the larger projects tend to want this. Teams that are above a $10 million market cap or so, because they have generally the experience and knowledge and liquidity to be able to maintain this stuff on their own. So when you have an unlocked liquidity pool, you also have to be able to manage the liquidity as the prices go up and down. So it takes some kind of expertise to do so. But the large majority of people have actually requested to integrate into BONK.Fun, which was something we were not really expecting. Because we kind of had this like long-term builder aspect, but Solana's curated this culture where it's kind of centered around meme coins, and so a lot of the infrastructure is centered around meme coins. But what I've come to learn actually is that the majority of users in today's kind of crypto economy maybe are not suitable for an unlocked liquidity pool. Not so much because they can't be trusted, because they don't know all of the complexities and nuances of the crypto economy.
I guess, do you offer people the option, if they are migrating to BONK.Fun, to pull part of the received SOL?
No, it's everything that's recovered gets used into the liquidity pool. And this was something we had actually considered for a while, but some of the people, I guess you could say some of the naysayers of Migrate.Fun had said that if you give some of the recovered SOL to the creators, that they consider this a soft drug. So we removed that feature and we just made it everything that's recovered goes straight into the liquidity pool. Now, if you're moving to or migrating to a Radium CPMM, we have in the platform that the LP tokens are locked for mandatory 30 days. This is to protect the users, but after 30 days, those LP tokens are released to the creator, and they can obviously remove, a portion, all of it, if they wanted to. That could be considered. They can just rug. Right, they could. But again, at the end of the day, it comes down to the community. So 50% of the tokens are migrated, people commit to the migration, then obviously there's a lot of trust in this creator. And for us, moving to a Radium pool has been just an incredible experience so far, because we've been able to add to the liquidity pool without the fear that we're never going to get that money back if we need to, right? So we recovered for Agent Hustle, I think it was around $160,000 in SOL, and we've added another 100,000 in SOL and Hustle to that liquidity pool, maybe 150,000. And for us as a creator or a team, being able to add to that pool, to add to padding of the depth of the liquidity as the price goes higher, is really important to the value accrual, because it gives those early buyers an opportunity to exit without completely tanking the price to zero.
What's the economics for Migrate.Fun to hustle the token itself?
Yeah, it's good. Good question. So the first thing we want to do is do buybacks. And the platform fee itself is 3.75% on the total SOL or the total liquidity pool recovered. So in this example,
that's only on the SOL and not on the meme coin that pairs with it.
No, it's on the total LP recovered itself.
Okay.
So let's say the liquidity pool is $1 million and 80. This is just simple math again.
Yeah.
Liquidity pool is $1 million. 80% of tokens are migrated. Therefore, it leads to 800,000 liquidity pool. We take a 3.75% on that number, and it's charged in SOL, and it's paid directly to the revenue wallet itself.
Okay. So after migration, you insta dump the token into SOL, and you yank the SOL.
No, we just charge just on the SOL side, but is quoted from the whole liquidity pool, because we don't want to we don't want to participate in any of the teams' token supply, because it can be considered manipulative in some way. We're just trying to do a one-time fee. It's migrations are probably one of the biggest decisions a project's going to make. I consider it very similar to a first-time home buyer, where this is somewhere where you're going to live for quite a while, and some migrations maybe forever. But in other times, because the tool's there, you can move as many times as you'd like. Obviously, you take a little bit of a liquidity loss each time, but that option is there. And so,
do you get pushbacks? Do you get pushbacks from the 15 projects or so you talk to?
No, not really. No, all the teams that are coming to us and migrating all have different requirements, different requests, and they're all from different sizes. Right now I think we have 3 teams that are migrating to a Radium pool. The rest are migrating to a BONK pool. And for them, it's like this empowerment and freedom to either rebrand. We have two teams that are rebranding out of the 15. We have the large majority of them want some sort of liquidity pool rewards. And in some cases, they want the full liquidity pool rewards, right? Because maybe they consider themselves, they've outgrown the Launchpad ecosystem, and they want to be a little bit more self-sustainable. Whereas some of them are large, like for example, Project 89 is a $10 million market cap. It has a pretty big backing. They're going from Pump Fund to BONK because they want that social support. They also like that BONK has set up 2 different fee structures. There's like a memes payment option, and then there's a tech option, which is what's considered to be their ICM markets. And so in the tech market, the fee is 1.5% on all swaps, but that's shared. The majority of that is shared with the project founders themselves. And then the other one is called memes, which is a 0.3% swap fee. And then a percentage of that is shared with the meme creators. And this is where it's come to my just realization that the majority of people don't want to have to even think about managing a liquidity pool. And the fact that, hey, if there's a 1.5% fee for tech or ICM, and I get 1% of that, like that's sufficient enough for the majority of people where they don't have to deal about anything else.
Yeah. And do you get a take rate on the swap fee as well, or is it just on the migration?
Just one fee, just one
Okay.
just one-time fee for us. There are some options. So you're getting into like the tokenomics of Hustle itself. So buybacks is the first thing we want to do. We haven't announced a percentage yet, and it's because for us, and I've been in the industry long enough, I've been here 9 years, since 2016. I know once you put out a number on something, you are literally held to that number forever unless that number increases, right? So if we say we're going to use 50% of the revenue to buy back the Hustle token, right? You'll never be able to go lower than that number. You can only go higher. So for us, it's right now allowing us to get all 15 of these teams onboarded, go through successful migration. We do have an audit beginning for the platform in about 12 days from the time of this recording. And once that audit is complete, this is one of the best Solana auditing firms that we've dealt with, that also does a lot of Solana Foundation audits. Then we'll spend a few days on onboarding those users or those teams to the platform, and then we'll go public. And we also have two big partners. Obviously, we've been working with Radium and BONK.Fun. The official announcements and stuff is kind of in their, it's in their control. They have a lot more standards and a lot more rules and requirements for, announcing partnerships and things like that. But we have been working with them for about a month now. Radium even longer. We actually reached out with Migrate.Fun to all the teams. We reached out to Pump, reached out to Meteora, reached out to Radium. And Radium was the only one that responded to us. And they immediately saw the vision. They immediately were like, yes, this is something we're interested in. And they've given us an immense amount of support along the time. And they even brought BONK to us. BONK reached out to us. They saw the vision. They liked it. And they've been incredible partners so far, and excited to work with them. But the cool part of Migrate.Fun is it could be integrated into anything and cross-chain. We've had teams from Virtuals, teams from Clanker systems reach out to us about migrating to Solana. We've had a few Bitcoin communities ask about migrating to Solana. So it's completely cross-chain capable. But for us, it's not about integrating into every system. It's about actually working with these different platforms who believe in us and want to work with us, and all obviously can bring business to the platform as well, and kind of really proliferate the idea.
Yeah. I guess, do you expect this to be because right now it's very manual, right? Team have to reach out to you, you work with them, you kind of shepherd the process. But this will be DIY soon enough. You just click and you migrate. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, the goal is in September to have it open to the public. The reason why we chose to do this like initial cohort was kind of a few reasons. Well, when we started the migration for Agent Hustle in the beginning, right, July 1st through July 15th, it was more we were putting ourselves through our own trial to kind of see what the results would look like, fix any issues, and then see where the demand is. And then after the Hustle migration had ended, we had been reached out by a few teams. It was small. It was about 3 teams or 4 teams. And we were like, hey, we'll do a few week cool-off period. We'll launch these 3 teams together, and then we'll go through those tests, trials, and then we'll open it to the public. Ultimately, over the next few weeks, it turned into about 100 teams who had reached out from all different sizes. So we've been able to just collect a lot of data on what these specific needs are, build these specific features that people are asking. And then we're like, okay, well, what we want is we want a mass attention event. And we've been starting to get it. We knew launching Migrate.Fun would have some controversy, and it would bring some FUD, I guess you could say. And the reason why is kind of twofold. One is how to deal with the unclaimed tokens. And then the other side is obviously nuking a chart to zero with a giant red candle. The people who don't know the context of the situation are going to consider it a rug, right? But for us, we were like, well, if people are talking about it, then obviously it's going to bring attention, and we can actually commercialize this idea of migrations that's been going on for over 10 years. Like, migrations are nothing new. This has been something that's been in practice for over a decade in this industry. We're just able to, apply this in a better way for locked liquidity pools, which just became more of a mainstream mechanism over the last 3 or 4 years because of meme coins. Before the meme coin wars, having an unlocked liquidity pool was like normal. It was like, you go to Ethereum, and if you're a utility project, locking your liquidity pool is like the dumbest idea ever. Like, why would you just burn money like that? But then having an unlocked liquidity pool on Solana is the complete opposite. So there's like huge contrasts between these.
How much support, that's helpful. How much support do you think Radium and BONK is going to give you? I'm going to talk for like 10 seconds here, because it almost feels to me for them to win against Pump, they should be airdropping their tokens with every migration. They should be buying back your token, and you should be giving incentives. They should be buying the tokens that migrated. There are all sorts of things they can do to accelerate this process. I guess, are they doing that? How much of that are they doing?
Yeah, it's been interesting talking with them, and also kind of putting ourselves right in the center of the quote unquote launchpad wars. What I've realized is that Solana, there's a three-headed war happening right now between Jupiter, Pump, and Radium, right? Radium has Launch Lab, which is their launchpad SDK that competes with Pump for their launchpad. And also now Meteora has their own kind of launchpad system. Jupiter owns Meteora. Jupiter owns Moonshot. And then you have Pump that has Pump Fund plus Pump Swap, right? So these three teams are really kind of competing to one another. Radium has been incredible. They're the tech behind it, right? And BONK Fund uses LaunchLab SDK as kind of the front end, right, to compete with Pump and with the other one. Radium's been very supportive. They've given us pretty much everything that we've need. They connected us with BONK as well. Because they're a much larger company that's considered an exchange, there's less things that they could do in terms of marketing because there are different types of rule sets that you have to abide by. And they're a very professional team, which is great. But we have their full support, and with BONK as well. BONK supports us. They haven't gone through the their marketing means yet in terms of like what full support means. I think there's still a little bit of a smaller team that's also competing, right? I mean, they just took over Pump market share. I think as of today, Pump kind of took the market share back, so they're going head to head. And we look forward to working with them, and what their actual partnership means, I think, is going to be somewhat determined by them on how they represent it. We're fully aligned with them that we want to work with both of them and create funnels and such like that. But time will tell, especially in the next few weeks as our audit begins and we get much closer to the Great Migration Wave.
But there hasn't been discussions. I guess it wasn't brought up that they should buy your token and you should give a token airdrop to whoever migrates, or there hasn't been discussion about them giving incentives to whoever migrates.
No, so they've actually not shared specific tokenomics or anything of that nature. There's been no I buy yours 3-3 kind of situation.
Do you think they should? Do you want them to
of course we would want that type of, I guess, 3-3 ecosystem. I do think there's, this kind of inorganic angst that also kind of is unpopular in the Solana trenches per se, right? There's claims that the Pump Fund trenches are inorganic. There's claims that the BONK Fund ones are inorganic. Ultimately, I think both of them are honestly organic, but who really knows? We haven't dove that deep. I mean, there is the one thing I will say here is that there are a lot of teams who are watching this first Great Migration Wave of about 15 teams to see what happens. These are a lot of larger teams that are watching because they want to see what happens. And I suspect, and we suspect between all three partners, I guess, involved or unofficial partners, however it's classified, and depending on when you're watching this, that if everything is successful as it goes to plan with these first 15 teams, that there's going to be a bigger flood. And that's then when we kind of have an understanding that then if that does happen, then it's time to decide on what a deeper kind of partnership and relationship is.
I see.
But,
okay.
But it's business, right? It's kind of like letters of intent or unofficial letters of intent. And
I see. They don't even know if it works yet. It's kind of
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
we
see.
use our own token, right? And a lot of teams kind of want to see if it works. The audit was a request by Radium and BONK.Fun to get done. So we're kind of working through the progress of it all. And barring everything goes well, then it should be good. One thing I will say about this first group as well to the platform is that there's potentially about $50 million in liquidity between all of the teams combined, right? So if you
From the folks that you're in discussion with today.
Yes, yeah. There's one team that's about half of that. It's a pretty large team. They haven't announced yet. And so this kind of sets up a good mechanism and idea for kind of what the future is. So it could be a pretty substantial windfall for the company. And for us, Emblem Vault, which is the parent company, we've had no VC funding in its 10-year history, no angel investors. It's just been completely self-funded for almost 10 years. So, we're a small team of 8 people. And we would like to scale. And so, some of this revenue from Migrate.Fun and then also the Agent Hustle platform, which we haven't really even discussed at all. Between these two, we would like to add a few more developers and really kind of take this to the next level.
Yeah. I guess last question on Migrate. On that 50 million, 3.5% is not that much. It's like 1.52 million or something. Even if you get like 10x that, right? It's the LP pool of 500 million to $1 billion. You get half the market share to move over. And that's it's not that much. It's like $10 million.
Yeah.
10, 15. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say criticism, because I think people who buy your bags, they sort of feel like this is kind of a one-off type of event. And once this revenue stream tapers off, there kind of isn't full of, I guess this is where Agent Hustle comes into play. But like with this one-off windfall that you'll get a lot of mind share and maybe like $10-20 million of revenue, in your mind, how are you going to spend it? Or do you view it as like a one-off kind of migration? Do you expect more of it?
The way
in the future?
it's a very warranted question. It's something we think through as well. We do have some kind of crossover tokenomic ideas between both of them. There's the kind of way that I see it is that Migrate.Fun is the attention vehicle and Trojan horse to Agent Hustle, which is the army that's going to, kind of take over. In my opinion, I think Agent Hustle is the much larger opportunity, as our team does as well. And some of the partners and integrations that are going to be happening here, especially one we just announced recently, I think is really the much larger multi-$10 billion idea. But with Migrate.Fun, it was a product that was born out of necessity for us, and we're able to then turn it into a platform. And you can expand business opportunities there. It doesn't have to be just migrations, right? You can start getting into claims and launches as well. Not like Launchpad, like launching tokens, but in terms of like teams that need to do some sort of token release or claims and different things like that. So there's other business models, and especially across chain, as Emblem does, that could lead to other business opportunities there. But Agent Hustle is the much larger kind of idea here.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense. So why don't you walk me through kind of what that agent does and how you plan to kind of monetize it?
Yeah. So Agent Hustle is what's considered a DeFi AI terminal. Consider it ChatGPT for crypto. It's all on Solana right now. It's an agent that you can trade on chain with. You can analyze markets. You could create strategies and do conditional trades. It was at one point the number 2. I think it still might be number 2 DeFi AI agent by market cap on Solana. The only one higher is Griffin. Although from what I suspect and what everyone tells us, it's the most actually used agent on Solana. We have generally anywhere between 100 to 300 daily active users. Again, this is not like the fluff numbers that a lot of people do, but we're just very honest with what we're doing here. Yesterday or 2 days ago, we just surpassed $1 million in trading volume on the platform in about 4 months or so. And our average trade size has gone from March, when we first launched Agent Hustle V2, which was with trading capabilities, from an average trade size of $15 to upwards of almost $700 a few days ago. This was obviously as the Hustle token was pumping, so the numbers may be skewed a little bit to the upside. But what this tells us is, the average trade size on average is, increased by 5-fold. It means that people are becoming more comfortable with trading using AI. and they're more comfortable using our system. So the kind of larger vision here is this of Agent Hustle being the AI router for the crypto industry, which is what I think is, the $10 billion idea here. The best example I could do is there's 4 main products that I look at in the industry that will never die because they are so heavily integrated into the ecosystem. When you look at Uniswap, every single DEX front end uses the Uniswap AI or Uniswap router for all of the deal flow and all the liquidity. When you look at Jupiter on Solana, all the transactions are routed through Jupiter. When you look at NFT land, all the NFT marketplaces are built off of Seaport, and which is why OpenSea will never go away, because and we built our own marketplace, Emblem Markets as well. So I have technical experience. Every single marketplace on Ethereum is built on top of Seaport. And then when you look at the Oracle space, the majority of off-chain data aggregation is all routed through Chainlink. So these four teams and protocols will never go away. And if they go away, then the sectors and industries that they're in will probably implode pretty quickly. So there's an opportunity here with the AI ecosystem to basically become an AI router where any builder or developer can use your AI and plug it into their ecosystem, apply a few different APIs on top of it or extensive tooling that's related to their platform or protocol, and white label it and move on. And we do have one partnership that we already announced, which is going to be the first real test. We have a few other major ones coming over the next few months. And ultimately, it allows builders to have a trading AI agent or AI companion attached to their platform without hosting all of the infrastructure, which I've learned is actually quite extensive and quite expensive.
That's good overview. I guess for folks that lack imagination, like myself, right? Like you're at 1 million aggregated trading volume. I guess, what are people using it for today? Because I thought, making transactions is a very precise science. You have a thesis, you go in, you buy something, you sell. Like, what do people use these AI agents for when they actually trade?
So with Agent Hustle specifically, we have 2 kind of main users. We have ones we call traders and then analysts. So the traders, it generally conforms around this idea of, hey, find me a token, buy it, and sell it when you think the time is right. And so between this, we have 3 main features that make Agent Hustle what it is. It's called a memory. He has a persistent memory, so he remembers all of your transactions and past conversations. He has a toolbox, so he has over 100 different tools ranging from buying pump fund tokens to launching, BONK fund tokens to analyzing Binance exchange information. And so as the trader, it generally conforms around this kind of prompt where it'll say, somebody will come in and they'll say, hey, Agent Hustle, can you analyze pump fund, look for tokens that were just deployed in the last 24 hours. These tokens need to have over 500 holders, over $1 million market cap, and the chart needs to be in a consolidation phase. Can you give me 3 of these suggestions for these tokens? And then out of those 3, choose one and set a conditional order that where you think is best and execute. And you could put that, and it will literally find 3 tokens. It'll choose one of them, and then it'll set like a limit order or conditional trade of a limit at 15% below its market price, and then set 2 take profits at like 50% and 100%. It'll do that all in a single prompt. And this is kind of where we expect, and what we're building for is that the future of crypto is going to be through natural language interface. The majority of people who are going to be coming from crypto are going to be normies. The LLM subscription ecosystem worldwide has over 1 billion active subscribers across ChatGPT and Llama and Grok and et cetera. Whereas crypto only has 20 to 50 million active users, the majority of those being on centralized exchanges. So, you have a 20 to 1 situation, or maybe it's 200 to 1 situation, where the majority of people are going to be coming with extensive AI experience. So they're going to come in and they're going to interact with crypto through an LLM and not through this web extension wallet plus bridging plus network changing kind of experience. So that's who we're building for. The 80% bell curve of crypto users who don't need to execute a transaction immediately. They can, spend a few minutes conforming ideas, sitting and talking to the AI back and forth, getting data, and then executing on these kind of like multi-step transactions. And then on the other side with the analysts, we have a pretty large amount of users who don't even trade at all. And they just use Agent Hustle as kind of this interactive analysis or analyst that gives them information, and then they can dive deeper into whatever the data is. He can browse the web. He has access to a handful of different crypto analytic tools like DeFi Llama, Bird Eye for Solana, and he can crawl different types of websites. And so you could get Denver Broncos information from the NFL. You could go see what Taylor Swift is doing if you wanted to, and somehow conform that thesis. We do have somebody who uses astrology and applies it to Agent Hustle to then conform trading thesis. And it's really kind of a cool exploratory area because it allows anybody to participate in trading that's not just a technical analysis or price action chaser, and that they can use whatever their fundamental knowledge is and apply it to charts.
And people have to prompt it. Like the agent itself can't just have a condition set and just automatically look back at it every half an.
For the most part, yeah. He kind of has these like general directions in his system prompts on where to lead things. But for the most part, if you just sit and talk with him back and forth, eventually there will be some sort of trade that's executed based off of wherever the conversation is. And he gives, ideas and opinions and feedback on different types of strategies for, whatever the kind of mechanism is. But we have got a lot of users who are from the Bitcoin community, from the Ethereum community, who have never used Solana, or just people who found Agent Hustle through tokens and started using them, who have no, real crypto experience, and are able to basically set trades. And I get a lot of messages of people saying like, thank you for creating this because I'm not an active advanced trader. I've never knew how to do any of this. And just talking with them has allowed me to participate in this type of economy. And it just makes them feel a lot more open. And those are the kind of people that we're building this for.
I mean, I guess I'm not a target audience because I think the issue people run into would be they don't even know what to prompt it. It's like, I want to go make money, but I have no idea how. I don't know. Like, we have set up. So we've set up Agent Hustle. If you go to agenthustle.ai, you can sign in with Twitter, you can sign in with Google, or you can sign in with the Web3 wallet. There is suggestive prompts there to start with, what's the news of the day, coin, whatever. We did build a app section where you can actually go and click and physically see the different things that you could do. This was actually one of our main UX flows, was when we were testing out the different AI trading terminals. A lot of them were just an LLM experience. And I also, too, as somebody who's advanced, did not really know what to do. So we built out this left-hand side kind of applications. There's like 10 of them. You could click on them. They're interactive. They tell you what to do. You can actually even manually swap and do LP and stuff through these mini apps like a traditional crypto UX, or you could do it through the kind of prompting experience. And we give suggestive prompts inside of all of our mini apps, from the alpha mini app to the LP to the conditionals and stuff, that shows you what you can do to help kind of decide on where to go. What would be like the feature or the things that people do on this platform that takes it from 1 million to like 1 billion a day?
Making them money automatically. It's like what most people want.
Yeah. Why aren't you doing that yet? I mean, I'm kidding, but like.
No, really though. I mean, it's progressive. It's progressing there. So we've seen other AI agents that it's kind of a little bit more of a black box where you just put money in and apparently the agent is like supposed to do that for you. For us, it's getting into the steps of getting towards that automation. So right now you could talk with Agent Hustle and you could set up a conditional trade that where there will be a buy or sell event at some point in time, whether the sell event is lower or higher. And this is halfway to that automation, where eventually the next step is to add, an internal notification system so that Agent Hustle can look at the data every 10 minutes and make different adjustments based off of the authority that you've given him. And this is kind of where it's all headed. Will it make you infinite amounts of money? I'm a little bit skeptical because if a public tool like that is proven to make people money, then eventually that kind of alpha fades away because the markets will definitely kind of overtake it in some way, right? They'll create countermeasures and such. But ultimately, I think it's to get the platform as simple as possible. What most users want is they want to click a button that basically has Agent Hustle find tokens for them and buys them and creates this whole trading strategy. So we're trying to get it down to that as simple as possible. And then eventually to where he can self-automate, liquidity positions and redo rebalancing and such. We're building the infrastructure to get there. Maybe it's months away, 6 months away before that's actual reality. And also the AI models themselves need to improve. They're probably 2 to 3 kind of upgrades away. We've kind of really reached the boundary ourselves in terms of tooling, which is what tools are what AI agents use. It's kind of like an API that has data that's converted into a tool for them to use. We're kind of running into the max limit of 10 to 15 tools that could be used inside of a single prompt. But it has been getting better as we've been upgrading the models with the different upgrades that have happened. When we first started, it was 7 tools that was the max. Now it's up to like 10 to 12. So I suspect a few upgrades from now, you get 20 to 30 tools where you could do things like, hey, Agent Hustle, here's one soul. I want you to watch the Trump YouTube press conference and launch tokens based off of keywords that you find, and then stop launching tokens, after the YouTube video ends. That obviously is going to be something like 30 tools being used at once, and obviously it becomes more expensive, but we're trying to scale the technology alongside that to better prepare for that future. And there's a few other teams who kind of have the same idea, which is great because the ecosystem is so small that, if you're a trader today, I suggest to use these AI tools, at least not on an everyday basis, unless that's something you want, but to at least experience them. Because what's going to happen is a few years from now, when the next wave of new capital comes in, they're going to be much more familiar with AI than they are with this wallet experience. And they will have the edge because they're just going to be talking to it like a normal person, just like they're doing vibe coding now. They're going to be doing vibe trading, 6 months or a year from now. And if you haven't experienced the DeFi AI kind of UX, then you're going to be the one that doesn't have the edge anymore because they're just going to be out vibe trading you.
Interesting. I mean, it's an interesting future. How much time do you spend on this versus Migrate?
So Agent Hustle, we've been literally every day since November when we launched the token. We have 2 active developers that are on Agent Hustle every day. We have 1 developer that's on Migrate.Fun. And then we have another developer that works on Emblem Vault stuff. So we have 4 developers on the team. We'd like to get 1 or 2 more to kind of really expand it and to dedicate it more to Agent Hustle. Agent Hustle, again, is the $10 billion idea. It's the one that everyone likes. Obviously, Migrate.Fun is new and shiny and actually fills a sufficient need. Migrate.Fun is a moving company at the end of the day, right? It helps businesses which are crypto projects, move from one location to another, just as a business would move from, a commercial kind of venue over to a commercial, you could say like a commercial center over to like a commercial building, for example, we'd help them. Or if you're moving your business from America to Canada, right? Or from Korea to Japan, like we essentially are that service where we help businesses move from Pump Fund to BONK, right? Or they want to move from Meteora to Radium. That's what Migrate.Fun does. And eventually we can help it, right, with moving across chain and such.
Yeah.
But AI is such a massive intersection with crypto that every DeFi protocol will have some sort of AI companion within 2 years.
Sorry to cut you off, but
you're good.
Is there any feature you're planning in the next couple of weeks or months on Agent Hustle that gets you really excited?
Yes. So the conditional system is something that we're going to be continuing to upgrade. Right now it's market data driven conditions, right? So like sell when the price is 50 times higher, market buy this kind of thing. The next features that we're going to be building for this are social and news-based triggers where you could say buy wrapped Bitcoin and then sell it when Michael Saylor says that he bought more Bitcoin kind of thing, right? That's considered a social trigger because it's based off of Twitter. If let's say we integrate Polymarket, which is something we plan to do. I use this example a lot, but you could say something like buy a futures bet on the Denver Broncos. That's my favorite team. And then sell the position when there are 10 wins, or if Bo Nix, the starting quarterback, gets injured, then sell the position, right? So that's a news-based thing. The starting quarterback's injured, so sell the ticket. And this is kind of where the future of that's going. We're going to be doing some cross-chain expansions to a few chains. We haven't announced this yet, but we're working on partnering with a top 20 blockchain by market cap to become their official AI, working on the conversation to become kind of their official AI tooling. They have a lot of users who are kind of quote unquote normies with no on-chain experience, and they also share the same vision with us that their users are much more inclined to interact with crypto through an AI interface than the on-chain experience. So working out those models. And then we also announced a partnership with, or an integration with PondOX, which is a DeFi swap mechanism with kind of liquidity rewards and such. They're actually going to be using kind of a white labeled version of Agent Hustle that applies your own context and different models on top of it as kind of a proof of system, which should expand our daily active user base by about 5x to start, potentially another 50x if it all goes well. So we are in this scaling phase. We are going to be rolling out subscriptions for Agent Hustle here pretty soon, which will involve the Hustle token. Again, this stuff's Hustle's been free literally for 8 months, 9 months. It's very expensive to run this stuff. But we have built our own tracking system to then, allow, payments in Hustle token, premium services, and kind of get in line with the rest of the kind of AI world that runs off of subscriptions. And then from there, I would say the blockchain expansion. Really excited to have a few partners. We really want to get into Bitcoin ecosystem because that's where Emblem Vault's history is, ordinals, runes, etc., as well as the EVM world with Polymarket, Base, Abstract, some of these other ones, and really kind of build this frictionless cross-chain experience.
I guess the Migrate experience would just give you a ton of mind share, and hopefully you convert some of that into the agent user and you monetize to the agent. Is that roughly the right way to think about this?
Yeah, exactly. Right now, the AI agent sector is tiny. Right, the largest market cap is Banker at $80 million. We hit 40. I think we're down to like $12 or $13 million market cap after that initial run at this point in time. So you're saying the DeFi AI sector is $300 million combined. I think this is like a $5 billion, $10 billion market cap ecosystem by far, probably much larger. And eventually, once the technology catches up and outpaces, the demand, I see this whole ecosystem continuing to run. And Migrate.Fun is the attention vehicle right now. It has some controversial aspects. People are talking about it. But the reason why we did that is to share the token between the two, because we are getting users who are coming over from Migrate.Fun into the Agent Hustle ecosystem to be onboarded, because the majority of people using AI right now are well-intentioned people, and the people on Agent Hustle are non-incentivized. There's no token rewards. It's people literally just coming here curious and building and trading with it. And we even have like a DAO that's popped up that uses Agent Hustle as its token picker. We've had a few other, somebody come in and build an Agent Hustle web extension experience with it.
Yeah, and you fund the expenses on the GPU side yourself?
Yes.
You're not selling. Okay.
No, we haven't. Yeah, we funded the whole entire thing. The cost per day could be anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on the use. We do have a platform fee on Agent Hustle, where we actually had the first profitable day last week. So it took about, since March, when we launched V2 with the trading experience, it took us about 4 months to reach profitability, with the trading fees surpassing the inference costs. And now it's starting to show that that's almost becoming a daily thing now. So we're pretty close to profitability in terms of the trading experience, which then, begs the question, if you're profitable, do you then add subscriptions, right? But you need to add tokenomics. So there's all these kind of like design decisions that have to be made. But overall, things are looking really good. And we would like to have some crossover experiences with migrations, Migrate.Fun and Agent Hustle in terms of tokenomics. there's just the belief we have as somebody who's been a team that's been building for 10 years is that the platform needs to be very stable and firm before you add tokenomics on top of it. Because the one thing we don't want to do, which is really tough to fight off, is this idea that the token becomes a product. The token is not the product. The Agent Hustle platform and the Migrate.Fun platform are the products themselves that share a token, which then will use, rewards and revenue, profitable revenue from each one to buy back the token, and then add interoperability in terms of some tokenomics. And then we have some much larger ideas on the Agent Hustle platform on how to create inter-economies using the Agent Hustle token for in-platform, I guess you would say in-platform experiences and in-platform marketplaces. I guess that's all I'll kind of say for now. But
yeah,
we've got large ideas. It's just going to take a little bit of time to get there. And again, right, because we've been self-funded this whole time, we're unfortunately not able to move at some of the speeds that some VCs, venture-backed capital companies do. But we're not going to let that prevent us from winning, because we are winning right now. We're one of the most widely used DeFi AI platforms. We have interest. And we're going to continue to create cutting-edge technologies, continue to innovate in various attention funnels, and eventually funnel it all back to gigantic partnerships who are using either Migrate.Fun or Agent Hustle APIs to have their ecosystems powered by a very superpower AI.
Quite important thing, because I'm sure you guys own a lot of your tokens. Like, nothing drives attention to something more than its token going up. And you have this interesting opportunity with one-off fees coming from Migrate, really potentially juicing your token to like this really high level, which allows you to kind of extend your runway meaningfully, sort of. But it seems like you're not in the camp of buying back the token with sizable portions of that fee. It seems like you're kind of putting it into treasury and funding the development of Agent.
We'll be using revenue. Again, it needs to be it needs to be profitable, right? So here's an example.
Yeah.
If our expectations for the first migration cohort, the revenue could be anywhere between $200,000 to $1 million, right? And so the question becomes, let's say it's $1 million, once that's completed, how has the token been impacted by the attention and speculation surrounding the mass migration event, right? Where is the token price at the time? And then where are we in terms of corporate treasury for runway, right? I think those are kind of three main things to value. I would love a situation, I think everyone would, to put 100% of revenue to buybacks. But obviously you have to be smart in terms of company management to understand all of the vehicles. And so Migrate.Fun is going to be, mostly profit for the forward. We put probably six figures into audits and development costs. So obviously that needs to be recouped, and then you need to have some runway for scaling more developers. But I'm just not comfortable putting a number on it now on what that percentage will be. But I could say, it's not going to be insignificant, and we do want to continue to do buybacks on both sides of that. It's just something that I kind of have to wait and see. And I understand that decreases some of the speculative ideas around how much is going to go into it, how high can the price be. But, you can have this very cool flywheel where let's say it's $1 million and you put, $500,000 into buying the token back. If it sits at a $10 million market cap, right, you can buy, what is that, 1% or 2 or 5% of the token supply. You can then use those tokens to fund a trading competition on the Agent Hustle platform, right? Or some sort of social rewards.
Interesting.
So you can get this positive flywheel where it's revenue coming in, getting token, and then you encourage trading activity and such on the Agent Hustle platform, which then is more revenue, right? And then you build these in-game mechanisms that encourages buying the token for different types of services inside of the platform, and you use the tokens as rewards. So you can get these kind of really strong, quote unquote, dare I say, flywheel kind of effects. But there is a lot of potential there. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of it's going to be dependent on how this kind of first migration wave goes and kind of how it's viewed afterwards. And this is what I mean, how much attention is Radium going to put into this? How much attention is BONK going to put into this? What type of controversy does the first migration wave get? Does the platform work, right? Like, is it completely safe? What type of speculative investments go into the token because of the potential of all these teams migrating? What is the revenue that comes from it? So there's a lot of questions that still have to be answered about a month from now, which will come into fruition. And I think that'll have a big impact on where the future of maybe the token is. I don't think it'll have too much of an impact on the Agent Hustle platform because we do have multiple announcements coming there and different types of integrations. So that's not going to stop. But the attention flywheel will come down to the migrations itself, at least in the beginning. And I'm in this firm belief that we're moving out of the attention cycle of crypto, right? Meme coin, SocialFi, et cetera. And we're moving into the intelligence cycle, which is AI kind of based applications. And that's probably another, that can be very apparent 6 months from now or 2 years from now. But without a doubt, that is where crypto is going. And Agent Hustle is going to be front and center for that. And it can be for a variety of reasons. And we're going to continue to be unique in our approach and be strong-willed and stick to what we believe.
Great. Jake, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it, Jason.
Thank you.